I'm Roger Lasad and I love real estate. Hello and welcome to my channel. This is, I believe, episode 20 where we're discussing, is Hurricane Ian the end of Florida real estate? Let's get into it. Now, guys, as I'm sure you guys have all heard, we had a major hurricane that completely devastated the area of Fort Myers, Sanibel Island, and did a lot of damage in Cape Coral, as well as some damage in Tampa. What I wanted to run through in this episode was to break down what a hurricane is, the different levels of strength and intensity for a hurricane, the amount of damage that was done, what the impact of that damage has been so far to Florida real estate, and what people are planning to do in the future. So with that being said, let's get into it. I've got some articles and some things prepared to you, so give me a second to bring that up. All right, guys. So one of the things that happened when I moved to South Florida back in 2004 is that I became something of a meteorologist. And what do I mean by that? With the fact that every year we get very nervous around hurricane season, a lot of Floridians tend to monitor different websites, with the National Hurricane Center and Central Pacific Hurricane Center being the number one site that we monitor to get up-to-date information about what's going on with the hurricane season, if there are any active storms, what they're predicting as far as the path of the storm, as well as the strength and intensity of the storm. Now, let's take a look here. And I just wanted to run through this with everyone because I really want everyone to understand this, because unfortunately, there are people that even live in Florida and don't understand the strength and intensity of different category hurricanes. So the categories are based on the Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale. So a category 1 has sustained winds from 74 to 95 miles per hour and is considered to be very dangerous winds, will produce some damage. I've been through multiple category 1 hurricanes. To me, I'm not too concerned with the category 1. You can expect trees to be knocked down. Maybe you might lose a few shingles on your roof. Generally speaking, power doesn't go out, cable doesn't go out. You might have a couple of roads here and there that are impassable because maybe a tree or a power line came down, but usually that's cleared up within a couple of days. And realistically speaking, within a few days, it doesn't look like anything happened. So category 1, I'm personally not too concerned. Let's move on to the next category. Category 2. So now we're talking about winds from 96 miles per hour to 110 miles per hour. This is considered extremely dangerous winds that will cause extensive damage. Well-constructed frame homes could sustain major roof and siding damage. Many shallow-rooted trees will be snapped and uprooted and block numerous roads. Near total power loss and expected, with outages that could last from several days to weeks. Once again, I've been through several category 2 storms. Just to let you know, I've been through a total of 7 hurricanes. Once again, category 2, not too concerned, a little bit more damage, but at least from my experience, it hasn't been that severe. Now, one thing I want everyone to understand with the hurricanes, it really depends not just the hurricane passing over, but where the eye is passing over. Because even though inside the eye is clear and there's actually very calm, the outside walls of the eye are where the focus of the strength and intensity are. So now, as you can note that's up on the screen, category 3 is considered a major hurricane between 111 to 129 miles per hour. Devastating damage will occur. Well-built frame homes may incur major damage or removal of roof decking and gable ends. Many trees may be snapped or uprooted. blocking numerous roads. Electricity and water may be unavailable for several days to weeks after the storm passes. Right. So definitely category 3 is definitely where if you're in the direct path of the hurricane, you should be very concerned. I if you're living what's known in a CBS structure, a concrete block structure, which essentially means that your house was built using concrete blocks, and on top of that, you have hurricane impact windows, you have hurricane impact doors, and you have a relatively new roof that is anchored securely to the structure. Category 3, I still say, me personally, that's up to the individual if they want to stay or not. But me personally, I think I'm fine with weathering through a Category 3 hurricane. I've been through those. I know what the impact is. There may actually be some loss of power, connectivity. There may be more roads that are impassable. But for me, I would probably ride it out. I don't live near the water. In fact, I am probably about 5, 6 miles from the ocean, so I think I'm perfectly fine. I think I'm far enough from the ocean that it's not really an issue. My area doesn't flood. All right, so let's move on to category 4. Now, before we move on to category, I just want you guys to understand, me personally, anything above a category 3, I will leave. The reason that I will leave is because I have gone through stronger hurricanes than category 3. And in the case of Wilma, that I believe hit us at either a category 4, category 5, there was severe damage in my neighborhood. And it's so much damage, it's kind of extremely difficult to explain to you guys. I'm picture every stop sign in your area corkscrewed. Like maybe 3, like literally you can see like the part that holds on to the stop sign. It's not twisted once, not twice, but 3 times. Picture every major electrical pole that's made out of solid concrete that are maybe blocks that I probably couldn't even get my arms around, snapped. We're talking boats in the street when the nearest water is like maybe half a mile away. We're talking trees uprooted and literally sitting in people's living rooms. I mean, literally troops that, not just trees falling down. We're talking about gigantic palm trees that were literally sucked up and launched into people's homes like a missile. Cars flipped over. Houses that collapsed at the time. The apartment complex I was living in, one apartment on the second floor collapsed and basically collapsed into another apartment on the first floor. Thankfully, no one was residing in either apartment at the time. I mean, obviously, if they had been, that would have been a potentially bad situation for anyone involved. But I just want you guys to understand that from my point of view, anything above a category 3, I think you should leave. That's my advice. Everyone can take, do as you will, but that's my advice. And I just want to read to you why that is. So category 4 is considered a major hurricane, 130 to 156 mile per hour winds. Catastrophic damage will occur. Well-built frame homes can sustain severe damage with loss of most of the roof structure and some exterior walls. Now, this is the thing I want everyone to understand why, if you're not in a home that you are 100% comfortable, this is why it can get very dangerous. Essentially, the pressure outside your home and inside your home changes. So if you're not in a home that was built to code, in a home that was built relatively recently, and by recently I mean after the Hurricane Andrew, which hit in 1993, there were a lot of changes to building codes. And one of the many of the changes to the building codes was to make the homes more resistant. So when a hurricane happens, the pressure outside and the pressure inside your home changes. Now, unfortunately, what this means is if you lose the roof or a door or a window, people inside of the home could potentially be sucked into the hurricane. And as we're talking at category 4, we're talking 130 to 156 mile per hour winds. Any type of debris could be launched at you with the force of like a missile, which means that grains, rocks, branches, trees, anything that you get hit at that speed can do severe damage and even kill you, which is why I personally, once again, would advise anyone in the path of a Category 4, Category 5 hurricane to leave the area. And by leave the area, I don't mean drive an hour away. I mean literally go hundreds of miles, if not even further away, to get out of the path. So it says here, most trees will be snapped or uprooted and power poles down. Let me read that again, guys. Most trees will be snapped or uprooted and power poles down. Fallen trees and power poles will isolate residential areas. Power outages will last weeks to possibly months. Most of the area will be uninhabitable for weeks or months. That is a Category 4. Next on the list is Category 5. 157 miles per hour or higher. Catastrophic damage will occur. A high percentage of frame homes will be destroyed. Let's read that again, guys. A high percentage of framed homes will be destroyed. So obviously, if you are in a frame home, and by frame, they're talking about wood frame homes that were not built with concrete block structure, and you have the unfortunate luck to be experiencing Category 5, you run the very high possibility that your home will be destroyed. And obviously, if you're inside that home, chances are you're probably going to be killed. So this is why I implore everyone listening to this, and everyone tell your people, tell folks that if they're ever in harm's way, like I said before, my personal line is Category 3. Category 3, I'm leaving the state. I have family in other states. I will go chill with them for a few days until we assess the situation. And what else does it say here? Fallen trees and power poles will isolate residential areas. Power outages will last for weeks, possibly months. Most of the area will be uninhabitable for months. So once again, I went through Hurricane Wilma, and I believe it was either 2006 or 2007. So we did not have, all right, let me back up. So in addition to all the damage I described earlier, I didn't have cell phone signal in the immediate area. I had to drive about 3-4 miles away just to get cell phone signal. At the time, I had to wait in line. First of all, I had to find the gas station that had gas, because back then, gas stations weren't required to have backup power generators. So even though most of the gas stations had gas, they had no way of getting out of the ground because they didn't have generators, which then resulted, and if you wanted to get a tank of gas to be able to move around or do anything, you had to find a gas station that did have power and wait in line for 2 hours to be able to get some gas. So that kind of gives you a little bit of the idea of how it was like to live through the aftermath or something like that. In addition to that, we did not have power, I think, for 2 weeks. And when I say we did not have power, I really mean zero electricity. We had candles, flashlights, no TV, no internet, none of that. And then once power was restored, I believe about 2 weeks later, we went another 2 weeks without internet or cable. So just to give you an idea of what that was like. Now, let me just show you this graphic, because I know some people, me talking and saying stuff, some people a bit more visual. So let me share this graphic to give you an idea of what we're looking at. So now we're at wind speed Category 1, right? So we're starting to see damage, things flying off. Now we're at Category 2. As you can see, more and more shingles are coming off the roof. More and more things are happening here. Category 3, starting to lose part of the roof. Now we're going into Category 4. As you can see, once we had Category 4, now we're talking about the entire, the house is gone. We didn't even get to Category 5 and everything is gone. So I just wanted to share with that and illustrate to you guys how important it is if you are in the path of a severe hurricane, Category 4, Category 5. Hey, maybe some guys may not even feel comfortable staying for category 3. I think it's better to be safe than sorry, and I get it, an unexpected expense. But guys, a few $100s, several thousand, whatever. I mean, you can always make more money. You can always get another home, possessions. It's really not worth your life, guys. So seriously, take hurricanes very seriously. All right, but let's move on. So in keeping with that, I've been to Fort Myers multiple times, Cape Coral, that area. So as you can see here, this is the devastation that happened. I mean, as you can see, entire neighborhoods are gone. Let me see if I could find this was like a really cool beach town, right on the beach, right on the water. I had something else saved here. I guess it may be on one of the other things I have saved. But this just goes to show you the amount of damage that was done and why people should not take hurricanes like it's some type of joke. Guys, just to really beat a dead horse here, a hurricane is just not a big like thunderstorm or rainstorm, which I think most, if not all of us have experienced. It's something that until you've been through it, I mean, it's hard to describe. Even when you're in the hurricane, the wind doesn't even sound like wind. It literally sounds like a howling wild animal. It almost seems like it's alive and angry. To kind of give you that experience. But yeah, just wanted to share with you, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen pictures, but just to go over this with what happened in Fort Myers. And then CNN has a pretty good article here. Hurricane ravaged Sanibel Island is cut off from the world. So Sanibel Island, let's see if they have any pictures. Sanibel Island was an island. In fact, let me just see if I can get pictures on this real quick, just to show you what it looked like before. All right, guys. So this is what Sanibel Island looked like before the hurricane. You know, we're talking white sand, fine powder beaches. We're talking very expensive homes, right? I mean, basically almost like, it's like a resort. It's like a resort really, where it happened to have some residential communities, but the atmosphere was very resort-like, kind of like something you would expect if you went to the Bahamas or the Caribbean or something. But unfortunately now, from what I understand, most of Sanibel's homes have been destroyed. And even the causeway that connected Sanibel to the mainland has been destroyed. And I believe this is a picture of the causeway here. And all right, so just to give you an idea, and let me just back up here. So for those of you that are unaware of this, Florida actually has 2 coasts, guys. I know a lot of you guys that just come to South Florida, that come to Palm Beach, Broward County, Miami, South Beach, yada, yada, yada. Florida actually has another coast besides the East Coast, and this is where all of this happened. So if we zoom in here, we have Fort Myers right here. We have Cape Coral, and then we have this whole strip called Sanibel Island. Now, this whole area was very popular for people that were really into water activities, boating, fishing, water skiing, jet skiing, snorkeling, diving, etc. It was basically, to live in this area was basically a paradise, because in the Cape Coral area, and I've kind of been through most of this area, you're never more than 15, 20 minutes away from a boat launch. Many people have direct water access out to this main body of water here, which obviously is out the ocean. There's tons of boat activities going here. And then Sanibel Island was considered one of the most beautiful areas probably the most beautiful area in this area, and one of the most beautiful areas in the state. As I pointed out, this causeway has been destroyed and will need to be repaired. And that's kind of the situation that many people find themselves in. And I'm sure a lot of people are asking, so what are people going to do? Obviously, a lot of real estate has been demolished. What are the effects of that? And I know some people may not want to ask the question, but I know it's on the minds of many people. Like I'm sure a lot of people are saying, are there any opportunities out there for investors, for developers, for builders? So let's talk about that. Let's talk a little bit about what people are probably going to do. So this is an article from the Sun Sentinel where it's asking about rebuild or relocate Hurricane Ian survivors lean towards staying. So guys, we got to remember that whenever there's a devastating event like this, where people have lived a significant part, if not all their lives in a community, obviously they have roots in that community, they have family, they have friends, they have a list of activities, hobbies that they had grown accustomed to doing. And out there, I have to admit, out there, the vibe, the feeling was very chill, very laid back, very friendly people out there. And I'm not surprised that in this article they're pointing to this, it's pointing to the fact that many of the hurricane survivors are leaning towards staying. And I know some of you are like saying, well, why would they do that? Well, in addition to the stuff that I just mentioned before, another thing that I'm pretty sure a lot of people are looking at too. So they just got hit with a devastating hurricane. I do not know, but I don't think they've had a hurricane like this in, I don't know, 50, 60 years. So I'm sure a lot of people are probably saying, well, what are the chances that this would happen again anytime soon? So that's one thing to think about. So now, usually what happens after a hurricane like this is the politicians take a look at what was destroyed, what suffered damage but was not destroyed, and what took not much damage at all. And an analysis is done, and generally speaking, a change to the building codes are made to help future homeowners feel secure about what they're buying because the building codes would have been upgraded and to basically only allow for homes that were strengthened or built in ways that are more resistant against wind damage, storm damage, flooding damage. Excuse me. So in this case, coastal high hazard zoning takes on new literal meaning. This is from Tampa Bay Times. And what they're talking about is one of the things I know that they're going to do is they're going to make a requirement that says that the home has to be off the ground by a certain amount. In this case, building size design with tank calculator, including additional 2 feet of. All right, so yeah, so in this case, they're talking about St. Petersburg's blah 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 blah. Yeah, so they're talking about adding an extra 2 feet of elevation to help minimize damage caused by storm surge, etc., etc. Now, that may not sound like much, but it is, and this goes into something else I wanted to discuss. I guess we're going to get to that in a little bit. Now, this is from News-Press. Housing market in areas impacted by Hurricane Ian likely to remain heated. Now, some of you guys might think, well, how can that be? Well, as I said before, people that become accustomed to living in a certain area and living a certain lifetime will be less likely to completely give up on that area. So you probably have the majority of people affected by this that will stay in the area. And a little bit of good news, Citizens receives fewer claims than expected. Now, Citizens Insurance Company is what's known as the insurance carrier of last resort in Florida. It's a state-sponsored insurance company for people in areas that regular commercial insurance companies have pulled out or are either no longer wish to cover. or have raised their premiums to the point that it's just really not affordable for the majority of people. Now, the good news is that they expected 225,000 hurricane claims, but as of the time of this article, they've only received 100,000. So that's actually a good thing because insurance is always an issue after a hurricane. There's a backlog, and in some cases, the insurance company will try to fight or try to lower the claim, and there's this whole back and forth. So hopefully this means that a lot of people affected by the storm can get their claims in a timely fashion. So I think it was Winston Churchill that said, never let a good crisis go to waste. So as you can see, out-of-state buyers hope for Ian-made bargains. Now, this is from the Florida Realtors. So apparently, people from out of state are still bullish on Florida, to the point that you have out-of-state buyers that are going to the impacted areas and are looking for bargains. I personally know one investor who actually drove out there and is sleeping in his car, and he's making cash offers on property that he feels that he could then rehabilitate and sell at a profit. Oh, by the way, for you guys wondering, why would someone be sleeping in their car? Well, keep in mind, a lot of people have lost their homes. So the few hotels that are around are booked up, and yeah, there's no place for anyone to stay. So that would be why. But yeah, but like I said, we've already got people, investors, et cetera, going down there trying to get deals. I mean, you know, mixed feelings on that, but I think those people going down there will probably help things get back on their feet a lot quicker, as well as helping the effort to rebuild. So I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, although I know some people that would probably rub them the wrong way. Now, let me talk about the FEMA rule. And this is actually one of the reasons that investors are going down there. And I know people would have mixed feelings about people potentially profiting from the loss or suffering of others. But I think in the long run, this is still a positive thing. So the FEMA rule, which by the way, this applies everywhere, not just in South Florida. So let me just read this real quick. Homeowners along Florida's Gulf Coast whose homes were damaged and destroyed by the storm are subject to the Federal Emergency Management Agency's Substantial Damages and Substantial Improvements Rule, also known as the FEMA 50% Rule. The rule also applies to commercial property. According to the FEMA 50% Rule, if any repairs or renovations to the home are estimated to cost more than 50% of its value, the owner is required to bring the structure into compliance with flood damage prevention regulations. The home cannot be insured unless this is done. What this means is that if you had a home because it was older, grandfathered in, etc., and it was not built up to code, and then the damage sustained has been 50% or more of the value of the home, for you to rebuild it, you will have to rebuild it to code. And in many cases, a lot of people cannot afford to do that. So what usually ends up happening is they get their insurance money, they potentially get some money from FEMA, and then they probably get some more money from an investor that's willing to buy it from them, and then would want to take on the project of rebuilding and building it up to code. So now, guys, keep that in mind, because this does not just apply to Cape Coral, Fort Myers. This does not just apply to the state of Florida. It applies to the entire country. So if you're in an area that potentially could experience some type of catastrophic event, tornadoes, volcano, tsunami, wildfires, mudslides, avalanche, whatever, just keep in mind that this is a rule that applies everywhere. Okay, now another thing too that many people probably didn't expect is on the east side of Florida, South Florida, the rental market is expected to surge as Ian exiles move to Palm Beach and Broward. Now, this is from the BocaNewsNow.com. Yeah, I've already starting to see a couple inquiries being made from people coming from the West Coast. A lot of people lost their homes, guys, and a lot of hotels were lost. So there isn't enough housing currently available on the West Coast, and that's causing a lot of them to come to the East Coast to find temporary or semi-temporary lodgings until for some people, they're probably in the stage of trying to figure out what they're going to do, whether they're going to go back and rebuild or potentially relocate. And for those that have decided that they are going to rebuild, yeah, they definitely need places to stay. So once again, this is more demand being added to an area that's already in high demand. And that's something that is probably going to go on for a while. As you guys know, I've been very bullish on the rental income market and multifamily, and I'm very bullish on Miami and Fort Lauderdale and Palm Beach. There's a lot of things going on that these three areas have going for it. We're in a great state. The weather, the tax situation, and a lot of other things. And this is just kind of adding fuel to the fire. So the answer to the question I asked earlier, if Hurricane Ian is the end of Florida real estate, the answer is no. The technology has gotten a lot stronger since Hurricane Andrew. The building codes have become more stricter, and I just think with this event, we're seeing, and just in general, where you're seeing strong events like this, coastal flooding. I think the politicians are simply going to put in better codes, stronger codes that are going to take into account coastal flooding, storm surge, whatever intensity of hurricanes, et cetera, et cetera. So what I'm trying to say is that, and I know some people, this might have caused them to be more hesitant to move down to South Florida. I mean, like I said, I'm still bullish. I still plan on living down here. It's very unfortunate what happened to the people that, lost their homes and potentially lost family members or were severely injured. However, I think in the long term, we're going to be all right. I think we will rebuild. We'll rebuild stronger. And to be quite frank, there probably are some opportunities for people that are willing, to take a risk. Now understand, when I say opportunities, I'm not talking about risk-free opportunities. Opportunities generally come with a risk. There is the potential that you could buy something that looks like a deal. You put your money into it, and then when you try to build things to code, it ends up being significantly more expensive or takes significantly longer than you had anticipated, and then you don't end up making money and you end up losing money. So I just want everyone to understand that as well. But yeah, guys, that's basically it. Oh wow, this is a long video. Yeah. Yeah, guys. Also, really want to know what you guys think about me just streaming live and also answering people's questions. Thinking about maybe doing it on Fridays, or I don't know, maybe Saturdays. But yeah, guys, just hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you think about me streaming live and just doing a show where I basically have people chat in, and I will answer your questions on air. Any questions you have regarding real estate, guys. Remember, it's a real estate show. But yeah, guys, let me know what you think. If you like this video, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will be back soon with another video. All right, guys. I'm Roger Lasad. I love real estate, and I will see you guys again soon.